Here, guys. All right, gentlemen and ladies, if we have any ladies here, but we welcome to week number 4 of 6 for our GLOA clinic. Again, I'm going to ask, if you have not yet done so, put your name, first name, last name, and IHSA ID number in the chat. That way I can easily track who's on and who's watching. This week, we have 2 different presentations going on. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and start with D. Ray Tucker, who's going to be talking about the importance of pre-games and some ideas for pre-games. And then I have some mechanic videos. I know I got a chat from somebody about maybe another possible video to show. We'll have time, hopefully, at the end. If not the end of today, we'll pull some time next week for some other plays. And then if there is more time today, what I want to do is the first 10 questions for the IHSA ID or IHSA test, the first 10 questions, we can look through those as well. If you've had a chance to print off the exam, or just so we have a chance to take a peek at it and see what's going on. So let's go ahead and before I do anything, D. Ray is going to talk about, for those of you who don't know D. Ray Tucker is from the Champaign-Urbana area. He's a downstate official. We don't have many downstate officials in GLOA, or many downstate officials in general for the IHSA, but D. Ray's been doing lacrosse for a long time. And brings a different bit of perspective on officiating for us here. So before we begin, I just want to get a quick understanding of pregame time for you. So either Steve or D. Ray, one of you guys want to launch this poll, just about in general for a high school varsity game. You know, what do you do for your pregame as far as length goes? We'll give you about 30 seconds just to kind of tell me which one best fits your pregame time, and then we'll kind of see a poll, but we'll see the results of it as we go forward. So Steve, how many people we have in there as far as the pollers go?
We had about 66%, 19 out of 27.
All right.
21 out of 27.
We'll give about another 5-6 seconds here. I can't see the poll on my end right now. So
about 22, 23.
All right, let's go ahead and stop it and share the results there, Steve. And for those of you that are seeing results here, what are we seeing on the screen, Steve?
About 54% do 11-20 minutes.
Between 25%
do 21 to 30.
Okay. Does anybody do more than 30 minutes on average?
Not 2 people.
Not many. And then how about anybody do less than 10 minutes?
3 people.
Yeah. And again, we know there's a lot of different factors that relate into how long you pregame for. But I think D. Ray's going to touch base on the importance of a pregame and some ways we can effectively and efficiently use those time to our advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and turn over to D. Ray here, and he can begin.
Thanks. Good evening, gents. Glad you can make it. So I'm glad to see everybody, except for the 3 people maybe that do 0 minutes. Everybody does have a sense that the pregame has value for them. That's outstanding. So some of this stuff we'll go through rather quickly. The other element of that is obviously the pregame you have in late April. It's not going to be the same pregame you have the first 2 weeks of the season. It doesn't need to be, but it's still important to have it. And there's several, it's not just the rust of inactivity, but it's the rust of the day, the rust of family that gets on us, right? So why do we need it? Let me make sure my screen's working. We get focused. They have to focus on the game. So we want to push out the work day, the home day, the commute, the phone calls, the emails, all that other crap that we carry. We want to put that to the side, on the back burner, in the trunk, someplace, so we can begin to focus. So it's an individual, personal thing. You've got to pregame yourself. Whether how much time you spend with your partners and your crew. Okay, we're going to touch on that too, but I can't stress enough dialing your brain in, and whether that's music, whether that's pulling up and watching a video, whether that's calling somebody that's your mentor to, again, get you right on something that you've been struggling with, whatever that is, get your focus on the game. Okay. And of course, I don't know if anybody's monitoring the chat. There's something that pops up, somebody just interrupt me. The other part of that is a stretch, a warm up, whatever you do so you're able to move better. Again, what's that? The kids, as they say, the kids keep getting younger and we keep getting older. I'm 50, I'll be 52 in the middle of this season. And yeah, I definitely can tell. I spend more time stretching now than I did 5 years ago, and certainly a lot more than I did 10 years ago. So that's the other part of the pregame, the individual, for you individually, getting yourself set in the framework. Oh, I just hit the wrong button. All right, so what do we need to do? 24 hours before the game, the crew chief needs to be communicating with the host school, whether that's the AD and the head coach, just the head coach, just the AD. I would include both of them. If you're not sure, make sure you include both of them. I prefer for me personally, I like the email my partners.
I thought for like for a lot of stuff it was 0.05, but for like a lot of times like 0.01.
So highly recommend that blast email, CCing your crew, and then remind whoever you're addressing to reply all, so that everybody gets that reply. The other part of that, so you're confirming game start time, the field that you believe that Arbiter says you're going to. Include in there where the officials are going to be when they arrive. So that's something that you're gonna have to communicate with your partners prior to the game. Obviously, every field's different. Everybody's coming from different directions, but get that stuff coordinated. Get that communicated. So if the coaches are wondering where the hell we are, they got a good place to know where to look. We're going to be parking, behind the softball field or wherever the hell that is. Figure that out. Communicate that as well. You can't over communicate things, basically. The other thing I will remind you, or highly recommend, when you get your schedule, program in the phone numbers of the partners you have, so it's already in your phone. Makes contacting them really easy, as opposed to going back to a website, going to a directory, and then running a red light. So, how do you guys decide where to meet as a crew, or how should the crew decide where to meet at the game location? How does that work in your world? Anybody can unmute themselves if they have an answer.
All right, I'll go first for myself. I typically just meet, you learn where to meet in the parking lot near the entrance or exit to the field is usually what my go-to is.
You ever strategically place yourself so you're not going to be walking in and out of the stadium or the field where parents and spectators are? How secluded do you try to make yourself?
I would say this goes along the lines of kind of having like an exit strategy. I go where D-Ray tells me to go. That's where I go.
Well, if I'm up in your neck of the woods, you got to tell me a good place to park or where to hide. So again, things to think about. Where are we playing? Where's the game being played? Is this school got a history of being rowdy? Where's a good place for us to be somewhat secluded? The sooner we can get there and the more time we have to interact as a crew, the stronger we will be. That's more easily accomplished if we are not out flapping in the breeze, so to speak, right? Not where everybody walks by and wants to interrupt us. So just kind of food for thought, how you figure that out, where you want to be, how you want to be there. That continues the morning of the game, and it's certainly, game time. If that was unclear from your first email the day before, weather plays a huge role in our game. Obviously, schools are competing for real estate on these fields and these stadiums, and sometimes ADs and schools have to make changes. We want to make sure that we are part of that communication loop, right? So anything that comes through the crew chief, and especially if it's an email and you see that you're the only one getting it, you've got to echo that to your partners. If it's a site change or time change, I believe Mr. Vedder would like to know that as well. He may not necessarily jump on anything about it, but at least you keep him in the loop also. The question I have written down here is, how do you decide what you're going to pack for your game? For me, it's easy. I'll even answer it. Everything. It is a hell of a lot better to grab it and not need it than get there and say, man, I sure wish I had my gloves. Bring everything. If you have extras, bring an extra. Because you don't know how fast your partner had to escape his office or his house. All right, the nitty gritty, right? This is where we've already done our personal preparations. We've communicated with the school. We know where we're going to be. And we know where we're going to meet one another. We need to make sure we've agreed on what our uniform is for the day. Long sleeves, shorts, pants, jackets, again, gloves, although I guess one guy can wear gloves, one guy doesn't. We're not quite that anal. Another thing is rule review. We do a lot of different levels, not just college and high school, but there's JV and youth. And if you just spend a weekend doing 7 games or 8 games of youth, and now all of a sudden it's a varsity game on Monday, that takes a little mental calibration. You might want to bring that up with your partner. Hey, I just did a bunch of youth. Make sure I don't go stupid and start applying a youth protocol that's not accepted here, right? We can be our own worst enemies when we're like, oh, nope, that's not the rule, sorry. They expect us to be perfect, remember? So let's do what we can and at least apply the right rule book from the get-go. Along with making sure what rules we're using, any points of emphasis, not just what's published by Federation, IHSA, and Mr. Cummings, but things you've already had come up, or a question you did not agree with the answer on our test. These are things, again, that all can get us thinking to the task at hand. And again, the situation is the discussion is interactive. It's not one guy pontificating like I am now. If you find yourself being the only voice talking, ask a question. How do you want to handle this? How do you want to handle when a coach doesn't get his timeout when he thought he got his timeout? Or again, whatever that thing is, bring your partner or partners into the conversation. It's much better as a conversation as opposed to a lecture. We get bored with lectures. Then double check your gear. Make sure you have 2 flags, 2 whistles, card, tape measure, pencils, timer, coin, all those fun things that we got to have. Don't leave the car without it. Double check yourself. Get into a habit. Another thing I'm going to bring up here in the next couple slides is the importance of a pattern. You know what a pattern is essentially? You wind up repeating yourself, but it becomes rehearsed. So you're an actor. You're acting as the crew chief. You're acting as the official, the authority. Do the same thing when you're checking your gear. You know, your hand over your belt, over your pockets. Make sure you got your car keys in your pocket. Make sure you got your chapstick, your whistles, all that fun stuff. Another easy question: how important it is for the crew to look like these guys in the picture? How important is that to match? Would you rate it high, medium, or low? Anyone?
Yeah, it looks pretty professional.
But is that a high importance, medium? I mean, just because that's Ty in the picture, so we're all going to look like Ty Wilkinson, the guy in the middle, or is it a high importance? Does it really matter?
It's a high importance.
Definitely matters, 100%.
Absolutely matters 100%. Goes along with that, get it if you're a heavy sweater or your hat's white or gray by the end of the season, invest in a new hat. We're paid enough. Hats are what, 15, 20 bucks. Get a new hat every year. Don't wear the same dingy hat unless it's pouring down rain. That's fine. I get the idea of mutters and rain gear. Nobody wants to get their new brand new stuff sullied. But matching is extremely important. And it sucks to be the guy that shows up, oh, I forgot my shorts. And it's 65 degrees out. Thanks, pal. You're my hero. All right. We've gotten there. We've started to talk, and it's time to get on the field. We're looking for stuff like this. We're checking nets. If our hand can go through it, the ball's going to go through it. Make sure we have our cards. Make sure we're going to don't leave the card without it. That's extremely professional. I've done high school games, and they're shocked when I give them a card. So I don't know how often you guys are doing it. It's done at higher levels, and certainly if you get coaches that have been from other parts of the country, they're going to recognize that you take this seriously when you present this. I started presenting cards when I do baseball. I got 50 ratings last year for baseball. I don't know anybody around here that got more than 30. So I don't know if it's because I did the cards, but I don't do a ton of games. But it makes an impression. You want to make a good impression? Give them your name. Check this table set up. Make sure it's not right next to the sideline. And we got stick checks to do. So all these things are going to happen in that 20 minutes. Make sure I'm looking at my right. Yeah, but I'll get to that. So there's a whole litany of things we're going to go through in that 20 minutes. I'm looking at my notes. The next slide talks about how we introduce ourselves and meet with the coaches. But I'll go over a few points on that right here.
Excuse me, I have a quick question.
Please.
Are we allowed to have standing aside for stick checks prior to the game this year?
The answer is going to be yes, Chris. We can. We're going to be doing stick checks. We're going to be doing face off. All the stuff's going to go back to normal essentially for us from officials.
Just wanted to make sure because last 2 years we haven't done it.
Not a problem.
No, thanks for reminding me. I forgot that's been a thing. You're right. Good question. Thank you. So back to talking with the coaches. Everybody introduces themselves to the coach, but the referee's kind of running the show. Getting the certification on the equipment. And guys, if he can't give you an affirmative, stop, coach. We can't continue until you can confirm for me. I'll go talk to the other coach and I'll come back. I mean, get to that point. I understand it's ha-ha joking. No. This is serious. I just gave you a card. I'm taking this seriously. My partner and I were dressed alike. Will you certify that your team is legally equipped to play today? We need an affirmative for that. I can't overstress that. Get his numbers. Captain in-home is the most important. I sometimes don't even write down captain's numbers. That's me. I guess call me lazy. And then double check about how what they're, again, this is why it's important to go to the home coach first, but find out, are we doing introductions, anthem, all those other things to make sure the visiting coach knows it and we know it, and we can keep things moving along and try to be as close to starting on time as possible. That's also a time if you have fields that look like what that top left picture looks like, you can bring that to the coach's attention. Here's a good question, Roy. I think it was a test question too. What's the one penalty, field marking penalty that's gonna cost them a face-off? Cost the home team a face-off if this isn't properly marked.
Center line.
Pardon me?
Center line.
Center line's got to be from sideline to sideline. And I guarantee you, if you forget to look, the visiting coach looked. He knows. I promise you, he knows if it isn't there. I mentioned earlier patter. This is where a big part of where it comes in. Come up with whatever your sportsmanship reminder statement is. That isn't a requirement in our spiel with both coaches. Find out what works for you. The best way to do that, to find out what works for you, is work games with other officials that are the referee and steal what you like from them and change what you find sounds weird. Make it work for you. It needs to sound authoritative and come from you. The last thing I say to these coaches anymore, this is a quote, have a good game. I'm on a crusade to get rid of good luck. I think it sounds kind of, I don't know, left-handed is the best way I'd put it. So blah, blah, blah. Coach, sportsmanship, we're working together. We count on you to take care of that on the sideline. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good game. Get rid of good luck if you can. I think it sounds better. I just lost my note. Come back. Sorry, fellas. Yeah, that was about it. Okay, the other part of that. Take care of the visiting coach, communicating the information that the home coach gave us. Make sure visiting coach is on the same page. And then we break. The other place you need a pattern, referees, officials, is the communication on how you are working with your table personnel, because your game will go to shit faster. Pardon me, I know it's being recorded. Go to crap faster if the timekeepers and the scorekeepers screw it up. And we're on our own worst enemy. We need to get them on board, learn their names so that you can communicate with them from 20 to 30 yards away, get their attention, make sure they know what they're doing. It's not that hard. Just listen for whistles. One of the things I tell them, change the status of the clock every time you hear the whistle. If you hear a lot of whistles, make sure the clock is stopped. Keep it simple for them. Don't overwhelm them, and encourage, we want to build a community with those personnel as well. They're part of the crew. They may not know it. They may not like us. They may not even want to be there, but we need their attention for the next hour and a half to 2 hours. What should the crew do if a hazard is found on or near the field? What's the answer on that one? What should the crew do? What are you going to do if that weed and sprinkler pit is there on the field? Anyone?
Go see the home team, home administration, have them fix it.
That I would. We got to put something on. That's got to be covered. That's a hot mess. I hope that's not in the field of play. If that's out of the field of play, we can go. But obviously, it depends on what it is. You want to find that midline and make sure that's there at the very least. But if it's a hazard, I would not recommend playing on that field, and they should know. I mean, heaven forbid, they should know that. You guys tell me. You guys have fields that might look like this. I haven't seen anything that bad. I wouldn't play that. All right, so some of those specifics we're asking the coach. I mentioned before about anthems and lineups, player intros. Just to go through real quick. Have that be part of your pattern, so you're just mentally going down a checklist and not going, oh yeah, anthem, oh yeah, you're doing any intros. Have a pattern. Same thing. Another part to add to that, especially we're getting later in the year, if they're doing anything special at halftime for their seniors. Although I've noticed some schools in football were doing that at the beginning of the year. It's kind of weird. Does it matter if you certify coaches separately or together? Or is one way the only way?
I'm a big fan of doing both coaches together at the same time, just so I don't have to remember information and repeat it. The coaches can kind of share that with each other, and then I always ask if there's anything individually they'd like to talk to us about. They can seek us out after that conversation.
Okay.
Plus, sorry.
No.
I love to emphasize the sportsmanship and bench decorum to them so they're both here together. So as soon as one of the coaches loses their shits and I penalize them, the other coach understands why. This is what we talked about in the pregame, what my expectations were from you guys.
I'm
gonna go the other route and say that I would never certify the coaches together. Only for the fact I think that it just presents a little bit of I don't know, can be uncomfortable, especially if the coaches don't get along. I mean, I guess if you know that the coaches don't get along, definitely don't certify them together. Or from that perspective, maybe certify them together, maybe make it even more awkward.
Jeremy, are you adamant about certifying at the same time?
I certified them every single game. I certify both coaches together. the highest level high school game I've done, the Loyola New Trier, I certified coaches together. I think it's a good way of setting an expectation of what they can expect from us as officials, as far as communicating. We want to have an open line of communication with both you guys. But also, if we ask the players they're legally and properly equipped according to the rule, and someone gets concussed because they're not wearing a proper helmet, I have a fourth person that can back me up. They heard the same thing.
Okay,
Guys,
go ahead.
guys on the call, does anybody else have an opinion out there? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate. Can someone else chime in and give us their opinion?
I got one. I got an opinion on that, actually. A guy I worked with last year had said that he wouldn't address a coach or address a coach's question without the other coach there. So that kind of goes a little hand in hand, even during a timeout, a halftime, quarter break, whatever it might be.
So we're talking pregame.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it all kind of goes together. You can either if you talk to them individually, then it kind of looks like you might be favoring a coach or two. If the guy requests that you all be together when you do it, that type of stuff. I just had that scenario. Just wanted to contribute. I understand we're talking about the pregame.
Interesting. I've not heard of that at the pregame. I mean, frequently I've heard some coaches in pregame will give you something they saw on film, or two things they saw on film of the opposing coach or the opposing team that they saw that they want you to watch. Now, I've been in the habit. I'm like, okay, I've heard that, and then I make sure I go back to the other coach because they're going to do the same thing. Like, okay, he asked me to watch your face-off men and your defensive pull on the slide. I'm going to tell him what you're asking me to watch as well. So it goes hand in glove with that. If you get something like that, there's nothing wrong with communicating the concerns the coach had. So I see what Charlie was talking about, but it's not a requirement. The answer is it doesn't matter. Whatever works for you. Apparently works for them both there, and I certainly see value in that. I don't demand it personally. If they're both standing there and they're both comfortable with it, it's fine. We can take care of it all at once. Anybody else have anything else we want to chime in on that before we move on? I'm guessing the answer is no.
One of the questions in the chat, Tom Cummings, what do you or Vetter think? I don't think Vetter matters one way or the other. But Cummings, do you have any perspective on this and what you think you should do?
On the chat question or the certifying coaches?
Only certified coaches.
Okay, so the certifying coaches, I'm old school. I've always done them separately. I really like the idea of doing them together. I think you make a great point. You kind of established another verification that coach certified that the players are properly equipped. But, and again, I think you have to feel the situation. If you have two coaches that really dislike each other, maybe it's the way to handle them, but there's a couple coaches I wouldn't put together. And not the Loyola New Trier. That's not the ones I was talking about. So I like the togetherness. I think it's a great idea.
I see advantages to it. I'm going to echo Tom. I'm old school. That's not how we did it when I was a kid, but there's nothing wrong with it. But be wary, understand if you're demanding of it and you've got oil and water or a cat and a dog as a coach, maybe that might be a game to go ahead and do it old school, do it the Tom Cummings method. Just food for thought. Bottom line, there's no wrong way to do it, but if you do them together, Jeremy, which coach you certify first?
Always start with the home team. I mean, I always start. I always start with the home team. Captains at home. I believe we're properly equipped.
Yes, home team gets to go first. Okay, it's time to flip the coin. So we summon the captains. Don't use your whistle. Use your voice. Step to the 40 or the 35-yard line. Needs attention to set up their captains. Right. We introduce ourselves. Might not say explain any special rules. The only thing I might explain is if there's something that I'm wary of. There's some, there's a sprinkler head over here if you're on a grass field. Something along those lines. If there's something you notice that it's treacherous but not hazardous. I don't know that I've ever mentioned a special rule at a coin toss, but anyway. Again, remind them of the expectation of sportsmanship. and then the visiting team calls it. The winner gets choice of goal defender AP. Losing team gets whatever's left. We rotate them, put their backs to the goal they're going to defend, and the referee taps slightly taps the shoulder of the team that won the AP. That's tradition. That's if you're in a bigger stadium game, it's a way to communicate where the AP is going to be. I'm not even going to ask the question on my notes said, should the officials inspect equipment during the captain's coin toss? Hell no, we're not inspecting equipment. Referee speaks, I touched on all that. That's a quick slide. We kind of covered that. We've done coin tosses. Help me out real quick. Jeremy, do we do a face-off meeting in high school? Do we meet with Fogos?
We are doing that, bringing it back this year, yes. Last year, we did not do that, but this year we're bringing it back, and we've done it before COVID. We pretty religiously, I think, almost all varsity games, and even lower level games. It's a good idea to do it, yes.
Yeah, that slide got dropped out of my presentation. I can touch on it real quick. Immediately after the coin toss, and again, gentlemen, have a good game, not gentlemen, good luck. Again, this is my little crusade, your mileage will vary. Ask them to send out their face-off men. Right? First thing I do as the face-off men come up, I'm looking at their sticks. And if they're bringing a stick that doesn't have that off color on the shaft, verify that they don't bring that stick out for a face-off. I've had kids say, no, this isn't my face-off stick. It has tape on it. I said, well, you may want to let me check that just to make sure we're good, because it's got to be opposite of the glove and the color of the head. Just let them know. I agree. Let the face-off men know what your expectations are. I encourage them to communicate with the officials if something is crossing them up or they feel that their opponent is getting an advantage that they don't feel should be had. If they talk with respect, they'll get respect. So don't whine to me. Talk to me. Tell me what your problem is, and we'll work through it. But both those meetings, coin toss and face-off meeting, shouldn't take 3 minutes. Really shouldn't. Shorter is better. These kids are not interested in hearing our wisdom at this time. Their focus isn't there, but we need to have that information get out. So keep it short, keep it digestible. So slide some alternatives when you can't have a longer pregame, or you're coming in hot. There was traffic. The office didn't let you go. You were on the phone with a client. What are some things we can do? Well, again, the first thing is obviously let your partner know I'm going to be coming in late, or I'm not going to get there as soon as we originally like. So don't keep that a secret. Some things you could do. Maybe, and my crew is doing this tomorrow on our way to our game on Tuesday. We're going to get onto a conference call. Now it's a 2-hour drive for everybody, so we've got time to do it, but obviously hands-free. And it's an opportunity. Again, we're talking, like we're at the parking lot, like we're getting dressed. We're getting some of those things out and calibrating our brains for the task at hand. Obviously, if you carpool, that's even better. Our football crew does that. We make it we really strive to drive to games in one car. If you're able to partner up somewhere and take the drive the rest of the way, that's an excellent way to do some pregame action. And then once no matter how you've done your pregame, make sure you leave time. Somebody's got to get there and double check the field. So if you're coming in late, then one guy recognizes you need to take a look at the field and get some of those preliminary things out of the way, whether you're the R or whether you're not, or the umpire. That still has to be done. Don't give that short shrift. So the class question, oops, I skipped the class question. What are the top 3 things you cover with your partner if you're on a very short abbreviated pregame? Everybody got there with like 23 minutes before game time. That's when both officials get there. What are your top 3 topics? Give me one. Top 3 things to remind each other. Go ahead.
Either unmute you guys yourselves or throw something in the chat real quick. What do you think the top 3 most important things to cover in the pregame are? Just give me one idea.
One of the things is it a rivalry game?
Rivalry game? All right.
Yeah.
Be aware of a rivalry game. Be aware of that neutral oil again. That might be a good thing to note. We got something else.
Consistency.
Consistently bad. I'm going to consistently suck today.
What are you going to be working on during the game?
Okay. We got anything else? I'm not looking at the chat.
Again, points of emphasis, maybe remind, we have a couple people in the chat talked about points of emphasis, something to work on. Let's just get ourselves on the same page as far as judgment goes, so we're consistent on judgment.
Okay. All good things. I'm gonna put the leadoff three, if you will. Trail watch as the shooter all day long. Let's make eye contact before we do on all slow restarts to make sure we're both there. Catch the rough, obvious, unnecessary, cheap hits. Those three things. Trail watch a shooter, make eye contact on the slow restarts, get the whales, get the criminals, get the felons, and we'll be fine. Right? We are the only guys that get to do this today. There is no one that can tap out. There's no sub. If one of us has a bad call, we got to pick each other up because there is no sub. Boy, it sure is fun. That's the end of my little pregame presentation. I went a little longer. Sorry, Jeremy. Any other questions or points or something you think I missed?
D-Ray, I think you did a good job. Thank you for doing this again with us. Again, for those of you that don't know D-Ray, those of you might have jumped on a little bit late. He's from downstate, Champaign-Urbana area. He does some of the high school games down there, and again, he's done a good job with the pregame. And pregame is an extremely important part of officiating, and I think some of us take that lightly. Whether we have 15 minutes or 30 minutes, we need to use that time to get us on the same page, because having an ineffective pregame can only lead, to worse places from there. So my goal is always start off good, and hopefully we can improve. So
anything you can do, guys. Anything you can do. Again, even if it's on the phone the night before. That's what I'm trying to illustrate, is put some value to that. And even if you think, I don't get much, your partner may need it. Everybody's got bringing their own things to the game table every game, and we don't work with the same partners every game. So even if you feel like you're just in the zone, awesome. Spill some of that out. Help your partner get in the zone too. It's all you, big boy.
Thank you. Steve Eckelberry, I'm going to double confirm one more time. We don't have any more of those polls. If you click on the poll and like the drop down menu, do you see anything else up there or no?
I can relaunch the same one we have.
That's it. There's no like underneath there, like a drop down menu. No.
The drop down menu is relaunch poll.
Oh boy. Okay.
Jeremy, I can see him.
Do you see IHSA number 1 through 10?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gonna watch it?
So yeah, give me a moment here.
Okay.
So we're gonna kind of the second half of tonight's presentation was supposed to be on mechanics. I'm gonna push that till next week. I could talk a little bit about mechanics next week. And then we're gonna finish up the last week with Bob Walters and Nitin talking about penalty enforcement and professionalism and so forth. But to finish up this meeting, the IHSA last Tuesday came out with their part 1 test that needs to be completed by the middle of March. So instead of us trying to break down and do all 50 questions at one time, we're going to look at the first 10 questions tonight, and then we'll probably end up this meeting a little early. So this one's going to be, again, another one where we're looking for 75% participation rate at least before we end these questions. So D-Ray has the ability to launch the poll, and we're going to have him launch question number 1. Even if you don't have your rule book with you or your test with you, take a look at the question. We're going to see if we can answer the question on screen. And I believe this first question something D-Ray mentioned in this, in his presentation, right? The home team's field does not have a clearly marked center line. So go ahead and vote A, B, C, or D. D-Ray, give it a couple seconds and we can share the results, okay?
Yes, sir. We've got 60% participation, 63%.
If our goal is 75 for every question, 75%. Let's get there so we know we're not just sitting here looking for answers.
66, 69. Ooh, 69%. Outrageous.
Sounds like a middle school class, okay?
Sorry, brother. I'm just reporting you the news. I'm not making one. 79, 82.
All right, go ahead and share the results, D-Ray.
And it.
Yep, in that first poll there.
All right. Of the 29 respondents, 2 said the answer to that question is A, the home team 3-minute non-legal penalty. An overwhelming majority of you said, 27 of you perhaps said it's D, illegal procedure, award the visiting team the ball in lieu of the first face-off.
And I believe that is correct based on especially what you mentioned in the presentation today. Excellent.
That's what I put. Ready?
Yep. Let's move on. Number 2.
Number 2.
The second question is now up there. I think, at least for some reason, I'm not seeing it on my screen. So we're going to go with the flow. The authority of the officials begins and ends with. So we'll let you take a few seconds, hopefully get to about 75% participation rate.
We're 23, 26, 32, 30, 41. Oh, we got a little mix in there.
And maybe you're not like me. I just have my test all over the office, so I have everything all laid out. But again, even if you don't have the test, let's try to answer the question.
All right, we're at 82%, 85%, 88. We got up to 88%. Okay, poll is over. 2 people said A, 1 said B, 1 said D, but the majority of this group says C. 26 or 86% of you say C. Begins when the officiating crew arrives on the field, ends when the crew leaves the immediate playing facility. C it is, fellas. C it is.
I agree as well.
If you don't believe me, check Rule 262.
I like how you think, D-Ray, even giving the rules reference. All right, we're gonna move on to number 3. And number 3,
number 1 also.
I have 261 on my paper for what it's worth. Yes.
Oh, okay, 262. Rule number 1. I had 1, 2, 1, 2 penalty.
Yeah. All right.
Section 3.
Let's post up number 3. The officials notice that the field dimensions do not properly match the 120-yard unified field diagram. The goal crease marked on the field for both the boys and the girls rests at the 5-yard line. The boys restraining line incorrectly rests at the 25-yard line, maintaining the size of the attack box at 40 by 35 yards. A lot of words.
Yeah.
The lines for the unified fields incorrect. Find the correct answer.
Are there a lot of unified fields that you guys work on?
We're getting more and more. Feels like I would probably say at least a third of them now are unified, if not more.
Yeah.
Always a shock when you don't expect to run that much.
Hey, brother, stay wide and cheat.
All right. What are we at here? Number 3, D-Ray.
4% precipitation. 70, 73. You got another 6 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You've had it for a minute and a half. We got 76% on that one. 6 of you said B, but 1 of you said A, which is the correct answer. Play the game, notify the AD and the assigning authority of the problem. Your rule reference to an AR or a situation, 1.2, the situation. Oh, I can share results. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I didn't do it the last time.
Awesome. Yeah, again, remember that's in Tom Cummings. We'll talk about this over and over. Remember, the only penalty we can really have for the field is not having the properly marked center line.
Yeah, it's only when you're going to assess. Now, again, they don't have goals. We're not going to play, but you're not going to assess a penalty. Ah, my favorite question on the test.
Number 4.
Yes.
A protective cup is required for all players. Each player is to be held personally responsible for wearing protective equipment. Find the true statement.
We got a little over half.
And if this is the first time you're seeing the test, that's completely fine, right? Some of you might not have had a chance to jump on it yet. So this is a good way of being introduced to the 50 questions you will see.
Oh, wow, 91%. We're going to end the poll in 3, 2, 1. And I can share the results. So we had a good little mix there. No overwhelming majority. Well, we're still going to elect a president on this one. For those of you disappointed it's not D, it is the letter B as in boy. There is no penalty for that one, kids. Your rule references would be 191F and 4.27.1 situation B as in boy.
All right, this is my first one I've had wrong so far, so thank you. 427.1, letter D as in dog.
Letter B as in boy.
That's the answer. That's the answer, correct?
That's where I found it.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you, D-Ray, for running through this. Tom Cummings, does this sound reasonable to us?
All of the above I had for the answer.
I have B.
You have B, one has D.
I have not submitted my test yet. I'm not done with it. I submitted B based on those two
I
rules.
think it's B because you can't ask a kid whether he's wearing a cup.
Well, you got to do something for an equipment check.
That's personal. You can't ask the kid, you got to ask the coach to be certified. And if he says yes, then
The
you-
answer I put down was D.
I think it's B.
Well, I wrote the test.
Well,
If you want to get it right, you put down D.
well, okay, Tom.
I will do that, Tom.
Tom,
Yeah.
page 57. Rule AR or situation 427.1, situation B. During the game, coach asks for equipment check on A1, specifically the player not wearing the cup. Ruling, each player is personally responsible for wearing a piece of protective equipment the officials will not include as part of their equipment check.
So what I'm trying to do here, guys, is I'm trying to make sure that you understand that anytime they don't have proper equipment besides a stick, basically is a 1 minute penalty. That's what I'm trying to say with that. Okay, so I didn't know that they put that in the AR. I'm just trying to point out that if a guy has holes in his gloves, it's a 1 minute non-releasable. If he doesn't, all right, if he doesn't have elbow pads, it's a 1 minute non-releasable. Okay, so if the AR says that, I apologize. Okay.
I'm changing my test, Tom. Watch, I will get that one. And
I'm just saying that, there has to be some way. I don't want people going in there and grabbing people or having them knock their sticks into their groin area. So the way that I assumed would be done was to say, are you wearing the proper equipment? Yes. Okay. No. Nobody's going to say no to you. So I was just trying to show people that I don't want people grabbing, and I don't think any of us would anyhow. But don't make up a way to check for the cup by, knock yourself in the balls and tell me if it's there. I don't want people doing that.
God knows. But that particular one, if you said anything else, gloves, cleats, elbow pads, whatever. But yeah, that particular one, there is no. I mean, I suppose if he said no, you could assess a penalty.
Again, I mean, there's no way we're going to prove this. I was just trying to make a point that, if you're not wearing a glove or there's holes in the gloves, it's a 1 minute non-releasable penalty. That's all I was trying to do with that. That's all.
Okay. So next year we'll do B. Anyway, so the fifth question's up. We're at 40% participation. I know we were chatting for a little while. Take a crack at it. Sorry, guys.
You're doing good. Are we on question number 5 here, D-Ray?
Yeah, we are.
All right.
Sorry, Tom. I read the book.
No problem. I asked for help in the tests. Try to send it out to a few people.
You know, put me in the loop. I'm happy to help out.
Fair enough.
All right.
We're at 65% on the question 5. We'll share the results of our poll here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, we just got to 77%. In first half of play, teammate scores. Immediately after halftime, what do? 20 of you agree that the answer is B. I'll share the results. I'm sorry. There we go. Continue the clock operation for the remainder of the half. Second half begins with the running clock for the remainder of the game. Your rule reference for this is 3-1-2. B as in boy.
All right.
Number 6.
Moving right along. National Federation of High Schools has made changes to eliminate the responsibilities of game timekeepers. The duty of the official timekeeper will be to sound the horn twice at the next dead ball when
Wish I had the Jeopardy theme to play.
next week. That's what I'll do.
Okay. Well, you know how I can help.
Faster we get these answers in here, gentlemen, the faster we can get done, right? We're only going through 10.
And we're at 71. We'll turn it off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the poll. And the majority of you found D. The player enters the field to play for the penalty area before being permitted to do so by rule. D is the answer. Your rule reference, if you want to see it in writing, is 2-8-2E as in echo.
All right, might as well just piggyback off this real quick. I know we're almost done here, but so you have a player, D-Ray, that leaves the field or leaves the penalty area before being allowed to do so by rule. What do we do in that situation?
You're quizzing me?
I'm just asking.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's part of my, dude, I'm fine with that. It's part of my pattern to the table personnel. If I remind the table personnel, I'm going to need to know 3 bits of information. Why did he leave? Did he misunderstand your instruction? Did you give a bad instruction, or did he just take off because he's not thinking? So basically, was it the table's fault, or was it his own fault? I need to know when it happened, or how much time was left when he escaped. I need to know that, and I need to know where was the ball. Either white had it, blue had it, or was on the ground. I need to know those 3 bits of information, and they need to hit the double horn at the next dead ball so we can untie the knot. This is the exact phraseology I use. But I try to keep it simple for the table. There's 3 things he did. Those are the 3 he got.
So a bit of preventive officiating. If I'm reporting to the table, I look at the clock and I say to the table, because the player may not be listening, release time is at 9:34. Okay. So that now the player, hopefully you don't have the misunderstanding with the table, that the table is released at the time that you told and the player anticipated or whatever. So that's just a thought that I always try to do. I try to communicate to the table my release time, so they don't assume that it's a 30-second penalty and I'm calling it a minute penalty. I will tell them the exact time of the release. That might be helpful.
Amen. And absolutely, it saves doing this, because I can't tell you. I think I maybe had this once, maybe twice in 33 years of refereeing lacrosse. So it doesn't happen very often, or it happens a lot, and I've got people that aren't paying attention. So, pick one.
All right, D-Ray, let's go on launch number 7.
It's up.
And then we're gonna try to get through 10 today. I know I don't want to keep you guys past 9, so we'll see if we can get these last ones, and then we'll have a chance for questions as well. So number 7, the shots taken at the end of the quarter, which is the situations, while the ball is in flight, the horn sounds, which of the following situations will a goal be allowed? Let's shoot for 57% participation rate.
Much?
I said 57, just so we can,
Okay. I was gonna say,
I want to be done by 9.
I'm working on it.
No, you're saving me, so thank you.
All right, we're at 65%. Let's wrap it up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We made it to 80%. Question 7. And the majority came up with D, which is what I have, but now I'm always hesitant because maybe Tom had a different answer in mind. But I have D. The ball makes initial contact with a member of the defensive team and immediately reflects into the goal. And your rule reference that I found was 4-9-3. Question 8. Boom.
And again, for question number 8, if you have not had a chance yet to watch a USA Lacrosse rules interpretation video, they do some great stuff with face-offs for those of us that are not familiar with this new face-off procedure yet. We good?
Yes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, 85% that time. And the vast majority found D, which is what I had, all the above. Rule reference 4-3-3 captured that for me. Hey, that's right. Number 9.
Number 9, Team A has crossed the midfield line and is under a 10-second count. The ball becomes loose. Team B commits a technical foul, push, and a play on is called. If Team A regains possession of the ball in the offensive end, what happens?
We're 22%. 30 seconds in. Here we go.
There we go, start.
I think we're gonna make it. All right, end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full ends. Anyway, everybody, every slot got an answer. However, plan is over, but we have a new 10-second count. Kids. Covered under situation 4.1. Situation E is an echo. New 10-second count when the offense gets the ball back after they were pushed and the play on ends. And number 10.
Real quick, D-Ray, you broke up a little bit on me. I just want to confirm for number 9, letter A is the correct answer.
Yes, sir. A is an apple is the answer, and was it 4-14-1? Situation E is your reference if you don't believe it.
All right, and the last one for tonight, gentlemen. Team A is about to fail its 20-second clear count. The head coach of Team A alertly calls timeout to avoid the failure to advance infraction. After the timeout, what happens to the clearing count?
We're already up to 65%. We'll shut this one down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Made it up to 88. And most of us got there. Timeouts, new counts. After every dead ball, any count you were running gets refreshed. The answer is C. It's another situation, 4.13. Situation A is an apple.
Excellent. D-Ray, thank you for driving that for me. I ran into some technical errors on my issue over here. So we ran into those technical issues. It is 9 o'clock. I'm going to stop the recording right now.